to episode 68.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
Finally, warmer weather is here, and there is no better time than right now to book your vacation getaway with 3D Travel Company. Head on over to our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side. They give a complimentary quote so you can get an idea of what it will cost to take your summer vacation. For a limited time, Who Did That Voice listeners can receive a Disney gift card for qualifying Disney and Universal trips, booked and traveled by the end of 2017. Hurry and book today so you can travel away.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hey you guys, this is a special shout out to all my listeners around the world. Who Did That Voice is now heard in over 78 different countries, and I can't thank you guys enough. Here in the USA and abroad, thank you for listening to Who Did That Voice. Keep listening and sharing with your friends. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest has voiced a myriad of different characters, but the one that she is best known for is Poison Ivy from Batman the Animated Series.
One little kiss, and dear Stephen was my slave. He was useful in signing my release papers, and for supplying certain raw materials for my experiments. But the marriage was, well, a fake.
And these mutations?
Our children, Batman. Plant-based life forms enhanced with Stephen's DNA. They're not truly human. In fact, their lifespans are somewhat like certain rare flowers that blossom and die in a few days.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show we have Diane Pershing joining us. Diane, thank you so very much for joining me today.
It is my pleasure to be here, Trenton.
Well, it is my absolute honor and pleasure to have you joining me today. You mean a lot to me, as growing up with you, you were such an iconic voice for me, and not just on the most iconic show I think of all times, but which was Batman the Animated Series, by the way. But you've been a myriad of different voices from amazing shows across time and space.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, just to name some of the amazing shows that you've done, Diane, you've been a part of shows like Justice League, Static Shock, Rugrats, Gotham Girls, of course, Batman the Animated Series as Poison Ivy, which is what you are probably most well known for in your career.
Yes.
And then you were also on the new Batman Adventures. You were on... goodness gracious, Defenders of the Earth, Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop. But, besides all these wonderful shows that you've been a part of, Diane, as well, people may not be as familiar with the fact that, of course, a voice actor is an actor, first and foremost. So you're an actress, a novelist, a singer, a film critic, and you are also a TV writer, among many, many other titles, I am sure. But of course, as we mentioned before, you are best known for Poison Ivy from Batman the Animated Series.
Exactly. Yeah, I know I've had quite a hopscotch career life, but it was all because that's what I like to do. I like to do the next thing that interests me.
Absolutely. So you diversify.
I guess I do. But I don't leave the previous thing. I try to do two or three things at a time.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of fun,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And your career is full of colorful, amazing stuff. It's just like, wow, looking back at your career path, it's just been like, holy cow, this woman has touched everything.
And I have the years to show it. Yes.
Hey,
I have been around a long time, and I have seen a lot of different aspects of show business and literature and so on and so forth. And I'm very pleased with, I can look at my life and say, this has been a very well-lived life.
That is fantastic that you can say that, Diane. And I would say that too personally, but for you to feel that level of accomplishment for yourself, that means that you've really striven to do what you wanted to do and that you've attempted and attained that goal, which is fantastic. So,
thank you.
You're so very welcome, Diane. Well, one of the very first things we always like to do on the show, Diane, when we have somebody new on the show, especially for the first time, is to get to know them a little bit, just on a personal level. And so tell me about little Diane, and how did she grow into the woman she became, and how did you become an actress, and more specifically, Diane, a voice actress?
Wow. Okay. Little Diane was very shy and had a stutter.
Wow. Okay.
And apparently I hid behind my mother's skirts and so on. And she was concerned about me, and she took me to this place. I was in New York. I was born in New York. And she took me to a little place in Greenwich Village called the Henry Street Playhouse.
Wonderful.
Where they had children's classes or something. And I don't know what happened. I had to get up on stage there and recite a poem. And I think the moment I got up on the stage, I knew I was home. And I almost remember it. And there was a sense at the time that this was my destiny. I was going to be an actress. And from then on, the stutter disappeared. I became, I guess, filling in inside at what, age 5 or 6?
Yeah.
That you know what you're going to do. I think it really kind of carried me. And then everything I did after that was the theater club in high school and UCLA theater department and summer stock in the summers and dashing right out to hit the road. As soon as I graduated, I was on the road with Johnny Mathis as a backup singer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's because I'm a singer too. So I was either singing or acting for years and years, and the voiceovers came up over a couple of things. I was hired to do a little children's television show called Dusty's Treehouse, and
okay.
I did the puppets, but I did the voices for a lot of the puppets, and I sang as a lot of the puppets.
Oh, that's awesome.
And and that was Stu Rosen, by the way, who started the Dusty's Treehouse and later went on to direct a lot of cartoons.
Oh, wow.
And then I was also an on-camera actress, and I was doing commercials, and I was at my commercial agent's office one day, and this man came by. He heard me talking to the agent and said, "Come see me after," and I didn't even know who he was. And I went in and saw him after, and he said, "Have you ever thought of doing voiceovers?" And I said, "Oh, well, yeah, I think I could probably do that, one of those." And his name was Bob Lloyd, and he also was very important back then. And for many, many years, he ran a place called the Voicecasters in Burbank. Yeah, and then he was my agent at first, and I got work immediately as a voice person. I was very lucky. I broke in at a time when they were just starting to decide that perhaps women could be the spokespeople for some products, etc. Okay?
Which is funny because now women, I would say primarily, are the spokespersons for a lot of different companies.
For a lot of different things.
Yeah.
It's still a kind of a man-woman thing, and there's still a lot of, the voice of authority has to be a man, and perhaps something sexy for a woman or something maternal for a woman. And once in a while, they'll let a woman be an authority voice. But still, I have seen huge changes, and I witnessed it, and I was part of it, and it was lucky, and I made my living. I would say my major living has been from voiceovers, with a little money from book writing, a little money from other acting things, and so on. Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful career, wonderful background.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for diving into your past and kind of giving us some of your rich history that kind of helped cultivate who you are today. I find it very fascinating to get to know the individual because it helps us understand, how they got to the places where they are today,
Yeah.
And, it's the same with, Don LaFontaine and all the other wonderful voice actors.
May he rest in peace. Yes,
absolutely. The ones that have passed on before us. If we don't know our history, if we don't know where we come from, we can't know where we're going. So
Oh, amen.
Well, Diane, one of the things I wanted to talk with you today about is, of course, your role as Poison Ivy. And how did it come about, or was it just a general audition for you to be a part of that wonderful and amazing show that has been such an iconic show for many, many people, probably billions, if not trillions of people at this point. And for you to be the first portrayal of Poison Ivy outside of the comics, what was that like for you to be the iconic trendsetter of who she was, what she is, how she sounds, how actresses today probably adapt their characters to an essence of what you created?
Pure blind luck. I mean, again, I was Andrea Romano, who was the voice director.
Wonderful.
They had
woman.
hired me to do a couple of small parts on one of the first Batman, and I was in the studio. And apparently, I don't know the story, but whoever was supposed to do Poison Ivy couldn't, wouldn't, whatever. And I
Yeah.
don't know if they got a big name or what. I don't know what it was. And she said, "You want to give it a shot?" In other words, audition. And I went,
Yeah.
"Sure." And I looked at the copy and I said, "Oh yeah, I got her," because she was sexy and intelligent,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot of sexy commercials for, perfumes and, bras and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I have a kind of natural intelligence when I talk. I know that I've been told that before. This is not me puffing me up.
No.
But
You
I
can hear
sound
it in
like
your
a
voice.
smart person. Yeah. Yeah, I fooled
One of
everybody.
those sexy
Right.
nerd girls.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, "Oh yeah, I can do this," and I
Yeah.
auditioned, and they said, "You got it." And really, that's how it happened.
Wow. What a
And
blessing.
who knew it would become this thing? I mean, really.
And she's so iconic. Like, all of the villains to me in Batman the Animated Series are super iconic, from Dr. Crane to Poison Ivy to Mr. Freeze. They're all actors that have
Yeah.
become these epically known, but it was such a trend-setting show because they brought so much of the Batman universe to life.
Oh
And
yeah.
Andrea
Oh,
Romano is just a freaking genius.
Yes,
and
she is.
I mean, your whole cast really is like I grew up loving the Adam West Batman, but I don't, there was no portrayal of Poison Ivy that I recall in that series. And with your character being the first portrayal, it was super iconic. All of the actors that played the villains made those villains come to life in a way that no one had ever seen before. And you really are my Poison Ivy. You are my, that whole universe of Batman is like my universe. I love it. And those are the voices I hear in my head. So.
Oh, and you know what? Recording again. This was 91 or 92.
Yeah.
I was doing it for about 5 or 6 years after that. Recording back then, or maybe just by choice, was they got as much of the cast together as possible.
Yeah.
And we would be kind of in a semicircle, so we could see each other, so that we could actually act, meaning we could look at the other person we were talking to
Yeah.
and react. And not only were we able to really feel like actors doing some brilliant scripts, by the way, Paul Dini and all the other people. I mean, seriously, brilliant script.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But also that ensemble feeling. I usually stood between Mark Hamill and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Oh, my God.
I mean, on either side
Wow.
of me are these icons.
Oh, yeah.
And all the people that came on as guest stars and stuff, and especially when Arlene Sorkin and I did the Harley and Ivy stuff. I mean, it was such a joy because you weren't just doing a voice into a microphone. You were doing a little play.
Yeah.
It was just great.
Well, the fact that y'all were able to record Ensemble, from everything I've heard, Ensemble is the best way to do it if you can get everyone together, because you play off of each other. Your reactions are more realistic.
Exactly.
It helps you feel more in tune with what's going on, so you're not just reading it and hoping that what you're saying or whatever sounds good. Not that they can't edit it and make it sound good, but you just get better reactions, I feel, from Ensemble recordings, and I wish they did more of it today still.
I wish they did too, but apparently, what with the schedules of everybody flying all over the world, and also the fact that, and this is, kind of important now, that they're using more and more names and less just actors who do voice stuff, They can't get them all together.
Yeah.
They can't. Yeah.
The big
So
wigs.
Yeah. I mean, excuse me. I have an appointment with my hairdresser or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But,
I'll be recording from my hairstylist salon. You're like,
Yeah,
what? No,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But, speaking of Paul Dini, he actually wrote, for sure, 2 of the episodes that you were in, but the one that he wrote that I was just watching before the interview to kind of revamp my memory was my favorite, House and Garden.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Is it really?
Oh, it's my favorite. I love that. I got to show all the colors of Ivy on that.
I love that one so much. It grasped me hard as a kid because you see this Poison Ivy that's wanting to reform, and in essence, she really did want it. She did, but she still had that ornery side in her that she just couldn't let go of. And You know, and I love that Robin's in that one too. It's not just Batman, it's Robin. It's such a great cast of people in that episode. And to have you you're wanting to reform, because even at the end, Batman's like, you know, she really was ultimately happy. She said it, and, you know, and she's crying on the plane at the end, looking at the photo album of the family she had created. And she really wanted that and just couldn't attain it, you know, and I think it was because of her corrupt past, you know.
And and you know, and the fact that the kids came from plants.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, then she gets both. She gets her plants, and she also gets an actual child.
Yeah,
a real person. Yeah. So she was so happy. She was so happy, and I loved playing that because I never got to play that. You know.
Yeah. Such a diverse Ivy.
It was lovely. Yeah.
Well, and it's, you know, I mean, I've always loved Poison Ivy, and I was actually looking at getting one of the statues that DC created for her, because they've done a whole series from the Batman the Animated Series of all the different girls, all the villains. I think it's not the Bombshell series, but it's something where they've done the old retro 94 series, 92 series, and I was like, man, I would love to have those busts, because Poison Ivy and Harley and all of those girls were just done so well. Catwoman, you know, the artistry was beautiful. You know, when they used that black background and then colored on it, it just gave a presence and an essence to that show that truly made it like The Dark Knight, you know, like made it unlike anything they've ever done.
Yeah, that almost, you know, Germanic impressionism kind of thing. It wasn't cartoony.
Yeah.
It was really art.
You know, yeah. It had moved away from the Adam West and became the Batman that we knew and loved in the future today. So, but it was ahead of its time. Like, Andrea Romano is a visionary who can see into the future, because the stuff that they created and the stuff she's done on other shows, especially Batman the Animated Series, she's just a visionary. And I applaud her, because she is such an amazing woman with such a great vision, who brings in amazing female talents along with great counterpart male talents. And she makes a mixture of voices that just blend like a choir, because she knows what she wants and she gets it. She is such a great casting director.
She really is. She's fabulous, and I completely agree with you.
Well, and because you're a singer and I come from a singing background too. I've been singing since I was 2 years old. You know, that aspect of being a singer, you understand that blending aspect a lot better than somebody that might not come from a singing background, you know, so.
Oh, definitely. I use my vocal, my singing, my throat, my tongue. I know, you know, I know how to use all these things, and breathing. Oh dear, you will never ever hear me take a breath on mic, ever.
Wow.
No, seriously, because I know how to breathe through my nose instead of my mouth
using
when I'm doing a session.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, and there's a lot of wonderful things from singing that really would be helpful in this industry. So even if you're not a singer, take some singing lessons, because it might help you in your own career down the road.
I agree completely.
So, yeah, but the breathing techniques that you learn in singing are essential and probably extremely valuable to the voiceover industry, if it's something people look at getting into themselves. So
definitely.
So Diane, tell me some of the projects that you have written for television. What are some things that you've been a part of that maybe I haven't mentioned so far? Maybe
for TV, I was actually, I mean, this is one of my dabbling things. I was, and I don't want, that sounds too lightweight. No writing is dabbling, but I've always written. I wrote poetry as a child. My late husband and I wrote songs together. I wrote the lyrics. He wrote the music. None of them became big. A couple of them were recorded. But, you know, I've always written.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to write for TV if I could. And again, sheer blind luck, I partnered with a man who had a connection to get us to The Love Boat.
Oh, wow. I love that show.
Well, there we go. And I actually wrote with him
fantastic.
a spec script. And they didn't like the spec script, but they liked us. And please try to write some more. So we wrote another one. And they liked it so much, they hired us as staff writers.
Oh, great.
And we were on, this is our show business story. We were there for 6 months. We wrote several scripts. We were part of the show. It was wonderful. And then new producers came in and fired everybody.
Oh man, I hate when they do
that. Yeah. It's showbiz, you know. And then
happens.
for a couple of years after that, I wrote a couple of freelance scripts for very forgettable shows, frankly. And then I stopped writing for TV because I really wasn't that nuts about writing. I knew I still wanted to write, but that wasn't the genre I felt most comfortable in.
Okay.
And later on, I started writing romance novels. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, you know, as far as your singing goes, do you still actively use your voice for recordings or anything for any
Well,
TV
I
commercials
still
or
actually do voiceovers. I mean, I'm left. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I have wonderful agents who've been with me from the beginning, Sutton, Barth, and Venari. And I have, I'm running out on auditions still quite a lot. And
Wonderful.
I still work, not as much as I used to. I think the voice has aged just enough so that I'm not in that 30-year-old voice range anymore. And that's fine. That's fine. It's time for the younger people. You know, I've had mine.
Yeah.
But no, I still do that. I don't sing that much anymore. I still sing for friends, and I love to. And I'm still pretty good, but I don't have the chops I used to. So you know how you get. You know, you don't really want to do your not best stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. I understand. Well, Diane, you really have had such a wonderful and colorful background, and you've been a part of so many wonderful things and involved with so many wonderful people. Your career is absolutely full, and it's just so wonderful to get to talk with you today about these wonderful stories and about Batman. Do you have anything like a behind-the-scenes story that you could tell us, maybe one that's less familiar to people that have heard your story in the past? What is something from behind the scenes that you really enjoyed the most, besides, of course, standing next to Mark Hamill and Ephraim Zimbalist? I mean, that's unbelievably awesome.
Well, actually, some of it is that on some of my other shows that I did back for, I think that might have been Marvel. Yeah, when we did Defenders of the Earth and the New Centurions. The cast in that show, there was a man, actually he did, when I did Dale Arden on Flash Gordon, my Flash Gordon was a man named Bob Ridgely, who has been gone now for about 15 years, I think. The funniest man I have ever worked with, and also the foulest man I have ever worked with. The absolutely wicked sense of humor. And Pat Fraley, who is still very busy in the business, and the two of them and two or three other people would have the cast cracking up so much that we had a hard time finishing a session.
Oh my!
And we did 65 episodes of each of those.
That's a lot.
You know, and each one I came away with tears in my eyes from laughing so hard, and the fact that we were able to actually get together and do a show was amazing because they couldn't turn it off. They were hysterical. So, you know, and again, that was ensemble recording, which was such a joy. Yeah. You know, so no, I think that's my fun story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that I kind of fell into some of these things is, I call it, you know, the serendipity of life. It's, you know, you turn a corner and your life changes, or you turn a corner and it's awful. I mean, you never know, right?
Yeah, and you really don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like throwing the dice in craps. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's right.
Oh, come on, no snake eyes.
That's right. Please. But you have no control,
Yeah, well, Pat Fraley is an absolute hoot. He was on the show a few months back, 6 months or so, but he is a hoot.
Oh, gosh.
Ornery little guy. I love him to death. He's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
But so tell me something, Diane. Is there a way for people to reach out to you, social media or a website? How can people get in touch with you, whether they are inquiring about just your career, your life, or maybe they are looking to hire you for a project?
Well, I'm updating my website, so at the moment nobody can email me there.
Okay.
You can always send me a message through Facebook, and you can always friend me. But if the problem is that I have a lot of friends on Facebook, and I don't actually accept the invitation of anyone that I don't know, one or two people that are also friends with them.
Yeah.
You know, people that just come out of nowhere, I just don't accept because, I mean, I don't know who they are. Yeah. And I don't know what they want. And when I'm on my Facebook page, And by the way, I never did have a separate page for professional Diane and personal Diane, and maybe that was a mistake. But so I kind of talk from the heart a lot on my personal page, which becomes my professional page. So I don't really want strangers, thinking. And so that's about the best way. The other part is my agency is Sutton Barth and Venari in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they can always call if they want to do something, through the union.
Fantastic.
That's what I like. And but a message, on Facebook, a personal message on Facebook will get to me.
Fantastic.
Like you did, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I did. We had a lot of mutual friends due to the the impact and the outreach I've had on the community of voiceover and the actors in LA that do this. I've been so fortunate. My show is actually fixing to hit a year here on August 5th, and
wonderful.
So
bravo.
It's been unbelievably awesome. But
and you'll be sure to send me the link, please.
Oh, absolutely. That way you can share it with all your family, friends, and fans.
Cool. Will do.
But, it's just been such a blessing. I've gotten to know so many people. By our 1-year anniversary, I will have aired 70 episodes, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
And I've just been so blessed and fortunate to become a part of the voiceover family, the VO community, because I've always had this passion, and I turned what I had a passion into a show, and I've just been really blessed, and the advice that I get from the actors has been so educational. I've grown so much in the last year, educationally speaking, from the knowledge of all these actors, whether they're newbies or intermediates or experts in their field. But speaking about advice, Diane, what is some advice you might give to somebody who's looking at joining our crazy world of voiceover for a career path for themselves?
The biggest advice I can give is listen to other people first. Just listen to the commercials and listen to the cartoons and so on and so forth. Take a class if you can from respected people, and that you have to get through the grapevine. I mean, there's many excellent people in LA, but I wouldn't like to go out on a limb and recommend people.
I understand.
But definitely take a class. Do not take it lightly. Do not think, I've been told I have a wonderful voice, I'd like to pick up a couple of bucks, because I get those kind of requests all the time, and they have no idea what's involved, which is it is a terribly, terribly hard business to break into.
Yeah.
It needs vocal technique. It needs mic technique. It needs acting chops. It needs you to listen very carefully to how you sound and see where you might need some improvement. You might have a sibilance, or you might have, there are things that, take it seriously. And that's the best I can do. And then network.
Absolutely.
Because usually you can get to other people through people who know people.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because when you leave a good enough impression on people, they will talk about you, and more people will come to you, and then your network grows, and that's how it works. So.
Oh yes, absolutely. You're in the business too, right?
I am not. I am not a professional voiceover talent myself. I'm a student of voiceover, but it is something that I'm working towards. But you're right; it takes a lot of determination, and it takes a lot of gumption, and you have to do it no matter what, because it's not just going to happen. And somebody told me I had a good voice, I'm going to do it tomorrow and be on the next Transformers movie.
And we are raising a bunch of people who expect immediate results. And,
they want it now. They want it immediately.
They want it now, and I know this sounds like the old fart thing, but it's really true.
Yeah.
The fact is, it takes a long time. And you can hear a story about someone was sitting somewhere and they got, discovered, and that's very sweet, and that may happen not even 1% of the time.
Yeah, like 1/1000th or something, like something really infinitesimal.
Seriously. There are 95% or something like that, or 85% of actors in Screen Actors Guild, I think it's more like 90 or 95%, are not earning a living wage each year.
Good
okay?
Lord.
So I am one of the 5%, and so are the successful people that you've talked to.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a piece of cake. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Diane, thank you for sharing that advice with us. I have one final question for you, and
Yes.
we will wrap this interview up. The question is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
You know, it's interesting. I've been doing these Comic-Cons lately. For the first time, I'm a little late to the party. And I didn't realize at the time that I was recording Poison Ivy's voice, that I had such a strong influence on so many people. And they come up to me and they have tears in their eyes and they're shaking when they meet me because, I mean, it's not me, it's the voice, but you know what I'm saying.
It is you.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
They're
You're not
talking
Poison
about the
Ivy,
show.
but
That's
yeah,
right.
I know
That's
what
right.
you mean. Yeah.
And some of them have had stories that I listened to about being abused and about how the show took their mind off it. I mean, stuff like that. And I realized that all these years I've been doing this, I've performed a little bit of a service for people.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I ever thought of my voiceover career that way. I was acting. I was getting paid for it. I love doing it. But I don't think I realized the aspect of being helpful to others. I don't think I did, and I'm very, very pleased that I have that legacy.
Oh, absolutely. I think the legacy that you've left in the career that you have had and continued to have, especially with the character of Poison Ivy, along with all the other myriad of wonderful characters you've portrayed, she's left an impact on the world that's never going to go away. I mean,
Wow.
You're the Poison Ivy, and, you know, Lauren Lester is Robin.
Yes.
And, you know, every character that has been portrayed on Batman, to me, from the Batman animated series, Kevin Conroy is Batman.
He is.
You know, I mean,
He
I was interviewing someone one time and they said, you know, every Batman that you hear on film is trying to be Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy.
And
I
Kevin
know.
Conroy is just Batman. He's just
And what
Batman.
a darling man he is.
You know, I mean, and
Yeah.
everyone, if you listen to their voices, how do they sound? They very much try to imitate Kevin Conroy.
Definitely.
He just is
Definitely.
Batman, and everyone else tries to be him. Because they
That's
want to be
right.
Kevin Conroy.
That's right. That's right.
But
Absolutely.
your cast of people left an impact on Batman. It changed the way people think. It changed the way people look at it. And the characters that were portrayed for the very first time in that show forever changed the course of history. Like when Harley Quinn was brought into that series, she is now a part of the Batman legacy that never
I know
existed
she is,
until
and
that
she was
show.
invented.
I
Paul
know.
invented her.
She's freaking amazing. And
I
the
know.
counterpart that she is to Joker makes him so much more sinister because he
I
has a
know.
mad love. And it's amazing. They are just geniuses.
I know. They really are. Yeah.
So, but thank you so very much for your time today, Diane. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show.
Brenton, thank you for asking me.
You are very welcome. Well, Diane, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please give us a closeout today as Poison Ivy from Batman, the animated series?
Oh, Trenton, thank you so much for asking me. It has been such a joy and a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Diane Pershing, the voice of Poison Ivy. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. You know, a question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us this Friday for our next special guest, Jared Hewitt, the voice of Disney Channel. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they've voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.